Hello, welcome to ORG-3800 Leadership Across Generations. I'm Dr. Mason, and I will be your instructor as we explore working and leading different groups of people within the workplace, particularly as it pertains to kind of age-defined groups. As we get into this, you'll notice every week I'm going to post a video here under announcements. I send out the link in an email as well, and there's a textual piece. But I want to make sure you're checking those out because that'll give you a good idea of what we have coming in the course, both in terms of some general content that I like to talk about at the beginning of videos. I'll also detail the discussion board every week, and then also talk about whatever assignments you have. So I think those are all important things, and that's kind of how I'm going to set up this video as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is introduce myself. Then I'm going to talk about the discussion board for the week. Then I will talk about your Unit 1 reflection paper. And then finally, I am also going to discuss at the end of this video maybe some strategies for being successful in online courses as you work your way through, which many of you won't need, but maybe this is a good opportunity for you to pick up some different things. And I really think about online learning a lot, how to do it effectively before the pandemic even. But as we work our way through ORG-3800, hopefully we'll gain a great understanding of how we can lead and how we can work with other people, which I think is a great skill. So me personally, I am here at Waldorf University in the physical campus here in Forest City, Iowa. And I've been here for the last 7 years, the last 5 of which I've served as the chair of the Department of History, Geography, and Political Science. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, why is a historian teaching this class? I also have a master's degree in organizational leadership and focus in human resource development from Waldorf University that I did in the online format. So maybe some of you are working on that type of goal. And so I've kind of been through that as well. So that's one of the reasons why I will pull out things related to that in my own experiences and how I kind of ended up teaching this course and working on it some over the last couple of years. Personally, I grew up in Iowa, in the southeastern part of the state, in a town called Pella. When I graduated from Pella Community High School, I went to North Iowa Area Community College, where I got my associate's degree. From there, I transferred to the University of Mary in Bismarck, North Dakota, where I got my Bachelor of Science in Social and Behavioral Sciences and focused in history, geography, and sociology. Then I did my first master's degree at Wayland Baptist University in Plainview, Texas. And then, as I mentioned, I got a second master's degree here at Waldorf University in organizational leadership, focused in human resource development. And then I do have my PhD in rural and environmental history that I got at Iowa State in Ames, and focused my research there, particularly on how different groups of people work together. So not all that different than what we're talking about. I mean, how environmental factors can really create stresses on different peoples and lead to conflict. So that's kind of some different things that maybe approach this this way. I have worked outside of academia. I started my first job out of college. I worked for the Ford Abraham Lincoln Foundation in the nonprofit sector in Mandan, North Dakota, where I worked on research and interpretation at the Mandan Onaslant Village site, working kind of with indigenous peoples. I also coached college basketball for 5 years at the junior college level and at the NCAA Division II level. Had great experiences there working with people from a variety of different walks of life, a variety of different age groups. Sometimes you might think about coaching as being just working with young people, but you also have to work with other parts of the university, other parts of the staff, some of those kind of things. I've worked in kind of the mental health sector. I worked at a residential psychiatric treatment facility for children, where I worked with really small people in a completely different generation, but then also the other staff. I worked in sporting goods temporarily before landing here at Waldorf, where I decided to really put my passion to work in teaching history. But I'll talk about some of these different experiences I've had. Hopefully you'll share some of the experiences you've had as we work our way through the course, because one of the things I really love about this topic and that drew me to the revision of this course when I was approached about it and teaching it is that this is an important skill no matter what field you work in, is being able to work with and lead other people on a day-to-day basis. So the first thing we have to do this week over on the discussion board is think about who we are and how these generations kind of slot with us. So as you take a look at the book for this course, the Clash of the Generations, you should be able to find all the information in the week's reading that you need to do. But one of the checkpoints I want to have is that we're getting that information. So both the assignment and the discussion board this week are designed to show me that you're interacting with that in a meaningful way. So there's two parts of the discussion board. You have to get your first post up by Saturday at midnight, the second post by Tuesday at midnight. And in the first post, there's two parts to it. So the first, I just want you to introduce yourself to your classmates, kind of with your name, location, current employment, future goals, all those kind of things. You can share as much or as little as you want, but I think one of the things we're going to have to do in this class is get to know each other a little bit. One of the things that happens organically in the kind of face-to-face setting we have here on campus is you get to know the people around you. I want us to bring that to the online kind of modality as well. And as we take a look at this, one of the things to consider is the better you can bring your perspectives and viewpoints and experiences to the discussion board, the better class we're going to have. I truly believe that. I've seen it work, and it can really move us from good to great if we commit to bringing in our perspectives, thinking about the arguments we're making, thinking about the reasons for those arguments, and then supplying evidence. I think we can really have good conversations where we can learn from each other, which is really an important thing, and why I'm a big believer that our discussion boards need to have this nuance. As you take a look at this, the second part you're going to have to do this week is think about what generation you identify with. This is one of the things that as you work your way through the book, it'll introduce you to all of these different generations we commonly hear kind of thrown about. I know the big ones that we tend to see today in the workforce are baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and then Gen Z is even starting to enter the workforce. And as you think about these, we have to clearly define them and then think about what kind of experiences shape our kind of generations within the workforce. And so there's four kind of sub questions to part two you have to answer. What generation are you in? What event or experience do you believe most shaped your generation in the workplace? How did the event or experience influence your generation immediately and then also in the long term? So there could be a variety of different examples of this that I talk about a little bit in the book. So I'm not going to get into too much detail here, but make sure that you're answering all those parts to get the full credit. One of the other things to think about with discussion boards is that 50% of the grade comes from your first post, 50% comes from the second post. So if you don't do the second post, I can't give you more than 50%. Another thing about discussion boards is they can't be late. This is a university policy, has nothing to do with me. But as a university, we've decided that if you post late, you're not actually doing the assignment the way we want you to, because the goal is to interact with other people. And with the participatory nature of the assignment, we want you to do that on time. And if you don't, I can't extend them. You're not going to get the credit. So don't ask, I guess. The other thing you have to do this week is your Unit 1 reflection paper, which will build on some of the things you're doing in the discussion board. So on this Unit 1 assessment reflection, what you need to do is kind of reflect on the multi-generational workforce and your experiences working with other people. Maybe you're new to the workforce. Maybe you've never had a job. Maybe you've been in the workforce for 30 years. That's one of the things I love about Waldorf Online is we have a variety of people with different experiences. Again, lean into learning from your experiences and the people around you. So as you do this, I want you to kind of identify the main characteristics of the multi-generational workforce, including the demographics of these different groups. I want you to think about kind of some of these stats that are in the book, like what percentages each generation occupies within the workforce as a whole and how that's shifting. And then I want you to describe them in some different ways. What values, what kind of perspectives, what ways of approaching work are characteristic of each of these types. One thing I want you to be careful of and cognizant of is that we don't want to overly stereotype. We can have people from different generations that don't meet the characteristics, that don't kind of fit neatly into one of these. But we want to make sure that we're kind of getting an idea of some common things that might be associated with these different groups. There's no hard and fast rules. People are all individuals with complex backgrounds and perspectives that make them approach their work and their life in a variety of different ways. But we can identify some things that are usual commonalities to these groups, and I want you to do that. Talk about strengths and weaknesses, and then how each generation's characteristics affect the workplace. I think the best way to do this is to think about people you've worked with sometimes and how they fit or don't fit into these kind of characteristics. You'll get all of these things in the book. You need to write 2 pages, APA style, double space, Times New Roman, all those kind of things. If you have questions about that, make sure you're reaching out. And that's my first major piece of advice, is communicate. I don't necessarily have the weekly kind of face-to-face interactions with you I might have if we were doing this class residentially. And so it's harder for me to keep tabs on what you've got going on. So as you work your way through the course, I realize that many of you have diverse challenges with your work life, with your home life, with other things you got going on besides this course. And I'm here to help you however I can, but I can't read minds. So please reach out and explain to me what you got going on. One of the things that I can't kind of would like to encourage you to do is to email. Email is the best way to get a hold of me, kevin.mason@waldorf.edu. If you send me an email, I'll try to respond 7 days a week, most reasonable hours of the day. And it's usually the best way to get a hold of me so I can get you a quick answer. I mean, it literally pops up right here on my watch, and I'm able to then pull out my phone, or if it's something that needs a little bit more work, it might take me a little bit more time to get back to you, where I got to open the computer and do some of those things, but I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Even if you want to talk on the phone, sometimes the best way is to set up a time via email. I know many of you are in incredibly different geographic circumstances. We're in different time zones, some of those kind of things. You have obviously very busy time during the day. I'm also very busy as I do a variety of different things, teaching in both formats and working on meetings and all that stuff. We all have our stuff. So if you want to talk on the phone, if that's how you're more comfortable, it's even better to shoot me an email first. We'll find a time that works, or we can set up to either get on Zoom or take a look at finding a time that we can talk on the phone. So as you work through that, communicate. I want to help you be in every position possible to be successful, but you have to help me do that by communicating. Second, don't cheat. We're all here to learn. Hopefully, that's why you're in college. You're hoping to get a degree. And one of the things that should go into that is struggling a little bit. Sometimes things are hard, but don't just cop out and cheat. I know stresses get there. I know that we all have a lot of things going on. But again, if you communicate, we'll find a way to work through it. If your response is to cheat, I will work with the academic integrity policy to the full extent of the law. I've worked on revising it myself. The dean's office is directly below my office here, so it's not hard for me to get in contact with him. The people that work on plagiarism in the online university are right down the hall, actually. It's just don't cheat. Somebody's paying for you to be here, whether it's you or your employer or your future self if you're taking out loans. And realistically, get your money's worth. Do the work, struggle through it, and grow. That's what we want to do. That's one of the reasons why education is wonderful, why we should be committed to learning, all those kind of things. Otherwise, I would just encourage you to set a schedule. That's one of the things that really worked for me, both with online learning and regular learning, is that think about when you're going to do your work, how you're going to get it done, and you'll get a feel for that as you work through the course. We don't have a ton of clock hours in this class. The reading's pretty easy on a week-to-week basis. You should be thinking about how you're structuring your work, though. The idea that going through and taking a look at these videos, looking at the syllabus schedule, and seeing what you need to get out of the text every week before you go in and do your actual reading, I think will take you a long way towards thinking about how you're structuring your work. And so that's another thing I want to encourage you towards. So as we get started, make sure you're reaching out. You'll get to know me a little bit better as we roll our way through the course. But I appreciate the work you're going to put into the course. Good luck.